Film with family. They love the family, they love the movies.
Hello and welcome to Film with Family. My name is Zach.
And I'm Austin.
And we are two cousins who love to talk about movies. Today on the podcast, we are talking about the 1994 Jackie Chan film Drunken Master 2, which you may know in the States as Legend of the Drunken Master. And to talk about this movie, we have two returning guests, my brother Caleb and Austin's brother Drew, and my cousin Drew. Welcome to the pod once again.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having us.
Howdy.
There's someone else here I see on Caleb's lap.
It's Honore.
Oh my gosh. Say hi, Anna. Is it Anna or Anna?
Anna.
You saw Legend of the Drunken Master?
Did you like the Jackie Chan movie?
Yeah.
Drunken Master?
Hmm.
Well,
What's your favorite part?
Around like a
I like Bruce Lee the best.
Oh,
whoa.
Whoa. Okay.
Bruce, did you say Bruce
Just
Lee?
saw Fist of Fury, so she's a little bit, she's got more than one input.
You know,
Okay.
Jackie Chan was a stuntman on Fist of Fury. It's a fun fact that I just looked up recently on Jackie Chan for this podcast. But he was a stuntman on Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon. Honore, can you name 10 things that are not Jackie Chan real quick?
Okay.
She got one.
Like that.
She was very excited
Wait,
to,
no, save it first.
here you go run up there.
Okay.
Say bye.
Don't turn it off yet.
Bye.
All right.
She was
Austin.
She was very excited to join in on this Jackie Chan conversation, and the moment overwhelmed her. It was too much, the pressure.
Apparently.
Yeah. I just want to say it's 2024. It's season 2 of Film with Family. How are we feeling? How you guys doing?
Drew first.
Me first. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. I'm staying over at Austin's place because my house is a wet mess right now. A pipe burst in my place and it's all full of wet. And so
Wow.
they're fixing that. And you know, I'm Channed out. We did 2 Chan movies. Chandraganza.
Yeah, we had No, Drew, sing the song that you sang this morning as you woke up.
It's Channing Day. It's Channing Day. Come on, wake up. It's Channing Day. It's time for Jackie Chan. Something like that.
You're like, oh, what a lovely Channing Day.
Channing Day. Oh, what a lovely Channing Day. A day of Jackie Chan. Yay! And so it is a beautiful Channing Day to all.
Yes.
Who
That's
made-
great. We're going to talk about Jackie Chan today, folks. And, you know, this was actually Caleb's idea.
Yeah.
We wanted to get Caleb back, one of our favorite returning Film with Family guests. And I asked him, what movie you want to do? And he said Legend of the Drunken Master.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Not only one of our favorite guests, but also one of our biggest fans. A great supporter of Film with Family.
One of our first Patreon member.
It's a great asset to my working days, and listening to the pod on Wednesdays really moves things along. I always get a little spring in my step when I know it's a Film with Family day.
We appreciate the support.
Every day should be Channing Day, and I'm excited to go deep on Chan because it's like, I mean, if you can't really have a real all-encompassing conversation about film and leave Chan out of the equation. He's just a powerhouse, prolific. I don't know. I especially like it coming off rebounding off the Miyazaki conversation because I feel like they have a lot of similarities, not really in tone, but just if you look at people in their field that combine like just dedicating their entire lives to their craft, arguably to a fault, and also going back to your Air conversation with Michael Jordan, those are the 3 that like come into mind. But there's probably some other sports guys that could probably be thrown in there. But just people that like, so they've got 1,000% dedication, unprecedented mastery and sort of technical capability that goes beyond anything everyone thought was possible, and just creative genius. And Jackie Chan has all those qualities, and it's something, that's really once in a billion. Like, there's so many amazing kung fu artists, but he does the choreography, he does the stunt work, he directs, he acts, he has a huge range.
Funny,
He
dramatic.
can sing. He's an opera singer too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He does pop songs. He's a good singer.
He sings the theme of this song or of this movie, right?
I don't know about that. I thought that was Police Story.
I heard he did sing the theme of this.
In the version, the movie I saw, which is the original Chinese Drunken Master 2 version for this most recent watch, he does the credits song. He sings the song that plays over the credits.
Yeah, the credits song in Legend is much different. It's much, much different.
Yeah.
It's like a weird, crappy Green Day that does the outro.
It's like
he's just like getting rated by hot coals and he's like just like relching and like in pain and just like dan.
Yeah, royalty free Green Day kind of song.
Public domain. Media player. Like
Yeah. That's an interesting thing about this movie is that there are multiple versions of this movie out there, and it's really hard to track down kind of the definitive version. I guess there's a debate on what you consider the definitive version, but the one I watched for this most recent viewing was the 1994 Chinese version that was subtitled, I think, the Cantonese language, which I don't think I've ever seen before, because me and Caleb, we had the Legend of Drunken Master VHS. And that's what we grew up on, which is the English dub that was released in 2000. And Jackie Chan,
Dimension Films, right?
Yeah, I think so. And Jackie Chan did the dub for that movie.
Yeah.
But he dubs over his own character. But I don't think he doesn't even do his own voice in the original Chinese version, like some other guy's doing his voice, which is a little disappointing. But
wait, so did you say that the one that you watched was subtitled or it is dubbed?
The one I watched was subtitled.
Okay.
So they're speaking in Cantonese, I believe. Jackie Chan wasn't doing his lines, I'm pretty sure. And it has a completely different audio track, completely different music and sound effects. Like, it's just like a completely different audio track from what I grew up with.
Yeah, we didn't realize how lucky we were that the first and only one that we were exposed to initially was kind of, in my opinion, I've seen some of the other versions recently. It's definitive, both in terms of soundtrack, Jackie Chan voicing his own role, and the ending that I'm sure we'll get into at some point.
Yeah.
I think it does speak to dubs though, and like I mean, there's always especially around anime, there's always subs way better than dubs, and it's like, well, it's like who's directing it. How good is the cast, even voice actors? Because it's like totally. I bought the DVD of Drunken Master that I found on Amazon, and it was like a bootleg or something. But it was like an English dub was on it, but it wasn't the dub that we were familiar with Jackie Chan voicing over. And it was just like a really and totally the comedy does not breathe through. It's not nearly as good. It was probably made around the release of the first Drunken in 1994, not the 2000 cut of it. But yeah, it's like night and day with how much better it is, and how much funnier it is, and and also just how good the cut of the film is as well, because the print is so much better in the re-release. But yeah, totally breathes much more life into the movie. And it may have, if I had seen the action is amazing. That doesn't just, I mean, it does distract from that though, because when I watched the other one, I was like, this is not nearly as fun as the original, or as not as the reprint.
Yeah, and Legend of the Drunken Master, the one that me and Caleb grew up on, Jackie adds lines during fight scenes, shouting out the different stances he's doing, down the hatch, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's huge.
All that stuff is missing in the original version of the film, which I think is great. I love that shit.
Yeah. And the drunken theme is extremely key. It's not part of the original score, so it's the action is great, but when emboldened by the proper music, it just takes it to a whole nother level, especially the finale.
Especially
Yeah.
because like during the finale when he's doing his signature moves, like me and Austin were like filling in the move because we knew, I'd seen it. Austin hadn't seen it nearly as much as I have, but like he was like, down the hatch, the wheelbarrow, and Jake Chan wasn't saying any of that stuff. We're just like filling it in.
Waterfall.
And one of the other cool things that we had noticed is stuff that they hadn't explained or maybe didn't have time to explain during the Legend of the Drunken Master. The first one, like when they're talking about the 8 drunken gods that make up the drunken style, like we were seeing like the drunken maid, which they don't explain at all, or the drunken flute player, the cripple with the strong right leg, and all that. Yeah, it's just like it's all still there.
It's a callback.
Yeah,
Are you
so
talking about the original Drunken Master movie from the 70s?
yeah,
about
so Drew and I watched both movies today. We watched the original Drunken Master from 1978, which was one of the most successful kung fu movies at the time. I think they said it was in South Korea, it was the most successful kung fu movie ever. Yeah, it's different than the second one in that the second one feels a little bit more American influenced. It has like a more focused on plot driven stuff, more like character driven, typical kind of 90s film. But like with this, masterful kung fu within it. Whereas the 70s version is just a straight up kung fu movie where just basically every single scene is another fight. And, it's got those great training scenes that for me, like my biggest point of reference for kung fu is Kill Bill. I know that sounds very like movie bro of me, but it's true. I haven't really seen a lot of kung fu movies. So, they have these like training scenes where Jackie Chan's character is training with the drunken master, and those are just incredible scenes. But then, he goes through sequentially like all of the different styles of like this drunken master fighting. Do you know the name, the actual proper name of that fighting style?
I believe it's Drunken Fist,
right,
in short, but I don't remember the Chinese style. It is based on a real form that I think Jackie was referring to as like it's like a variation of some kind of monkey style.
Monkey,
and it has a little bit of a lot of martial arts that, I don't know, the roots of them are often like sort of steeped in like folk mythos, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly where they spring up because sometimes it's not, just one guy came up with the idea. It's sort of like permeates through different regions at different times, but I think he's the one that really popularized it to more than anyone else. The reason why we know about drunken boxing is because of Jackie Chan, at least abroad.
Like kind of brought it to the fore. And so there's 8 different styles within the Drunken Fist, and they are the drunkard with inner strength, the drunkard with the swift double kicks, the drunkard with the sudden deadly waist attack, the drunken woman flaunting her body. It's like a flirty woman. And then the drunken cripple with the powerful right leg.
Right leg, yeah.
The drunken flute player with the powerful wrists. The drunkard with the powerful throat lock. And the drunkard holding a pot in his arms. And so each of these, as the title sort of insinuates, actually, like those mannerisms are incorporated in the fighting stance. So like it literally looks like he's holding a pot in his arms, or like the cripple with the powerful right leg. It's like he's like literally just standing on one right leg. And I mean, all of these are just so unbelievably impressive. Just like the athleticism that he shows, because like there's literally like a 5-minute scene that I encourage anybody to go on YouTube and watch, but he goes through each one of the different styles, and like there's subtle differences between each one, but they're just like it looks like you're watching an Olympian, which I guess, I mean, like you would. I mean, he's like one of the like masters of kung fu, but like just that it's like all on it's like sequential, very detailed display is just it's gorgeous and pretty like mind blowing. Like he's like doing like front flips where he lands on the top of his head. Like
Yeah, that's
it's
some
just like,
Shaolin stuff. He trained at as many styles as one could get exposed to in China and abroad. I think that's part of one of the reasons that the Legend of Drunken Master, the sequel, is, I think, special. I mean, the first one is special too. The second one exists without it, but by many kung fu like hardcore connoisseurs, Legend of Drunken Master is often cited in the top 5 to top 3 best kung fu movies of all time. Even just putting it at the top of Jackie's filmography, like, is a pretty competitive list, but it really holds up for a variety of reasons. And I was thinking about it. I think what's great is that it's this perfect moment of like I feel like I'm not sure how old he was when he shot this movie. I'd be curious to know.
He was
But
like
He was
mid
like-
30s.
yeah, he was like, yeah, he was in his late 30s, like 38, I think. Because the
Right,
movie
that
came
sounds
out in
about right.
94, and his birthday's in
He's about to turn
1964.
70.
he ages in Jackie Chan years, so
Truly,
like
truly. I
what-
was like mystified. I was like, wait, Jackie Chan's Drunken Master 1974. He was 24 when he made that. And then he's or he's 24 when the movie was released. And then he's 40 or 39 when the Legend of the Drunken Master's out. And it's like, how old are you? Because he was like, I thought he was like 30 years old for like 20 years. That's,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just
Well, I
looks
mean, and
very
then like when did Rush Hour come out? Rush Hour came out in the 90s too, and that was a gigantic hit. So like that was like pretty close to when, this movie blew up.
I'm not sure when, but like it is kind of golden era in terms of professional fighters in general and any athlete. Once you get into your mid 30s, like it starts to be when people are like, okay, so when are the young bucks going to start taking down the old lion? Like, because he's in another level, he's still kind of at the apex and staving off any kind of decline. I feel like there's some things that you were pointing out with the 70s Drunken Master that like you can only really do as a 20-year-old. But
Yeah.
like what you have here is he's still insanely acrobatic. He's still very strong, but he has so much more experience as a filmmaker and as an actor. And he actually has a budget and production, and he's broken into Hollywood at this point. So he's got like the resources to really bring this ultimate masterpiece, really.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
just like a very impressive film in terms of just the storyline and his character development, like the villains and how it moves along. You really don't necessarily need to see the first Drunken Master, although I loved seeing both back to back because I loved kind of knowing where his character came from and how he was trained and the styles that he learned. So I feel like you don't necessarily need to see the first one, but it's encouraged.
Do you feel like they are the same character? 'Cause I don't know. It feels like a reset when you watch the Drunken
kind of
Master
is,
2. Like it doesn't feel
I
like
think-
they're playing the same guy, even though they're both named the same name.
Yeah, I think Wong Fei Hung is like a mythical kind of dude. Like he was before Drunken Masters, and they kind of used his character. So yeah, it wasn't like something they made up for Drunken Master. He's been
Yeah, he's a real dude. I see here in Wikipedia. There's a picture of Wong Fei Hung.
really.
Yeah,
I
he's
thought
a
he was-
martial artist, physician, and folk hero.
Fuck yeah.
So he's kind of based off a real guy, but he just kind of became mythic, and people just use his name in like a lot of martial arts movies, apparently. But yeah, I'm seeing here Rush Hour came out in 1998. And I feel like, yeah, Rush Hour, that was kind of his big crossover hit into America.
Mhm.
So it makes sense that they would want to rebrand Legend of Drunken Master after the success of that movie and be like in 2000, like let's just redub this movie and bring it to American audiences because Rush Hour hit so good with American audiences.
Yeah, and I would be willing to wager that outside of just the having the team, the stunt crew that's like seasoned at this point, I feel like there's really underappreciated, or at least I mean I don't hear anyone talk about it, but like the cinematography in this movie, The Legend of Drunken Master, is very good for a kung fu movie. You know, a lot of the sort of movies that we would make when we were kids were definitely Jackie Chan inspired, and so we would be doing our stupid little fight moves, and you really gain appreciation not only just for like you have to be able to do the things, remember them, execute them in perfect conjunction with your partner, have them react in perfect time without actually hitting them, and then the whole thing of having the camera be where it looks real and like how you pace it out, and then the amount of sheer audio work that goes into every little whoosh and smack, and it's definitely, and something that I feel like Tarantino really grips into with Kill Bill is just all the meat on a film technical level that's in the kung fu genre.
And Return to Cannibal Island, there's that one, our fight scene on the on the tent or whatever that thing, platform, whatever.
Yeah, like on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, where two things happen. One, where I full out like punch Caleb like straight in the face, like was not supposed to happen, and you even see me on film like, oh. And then there was another one where like he does a throw for me, and I did like a full front flip, like landed on my back, and I threw myself into the bushes, and I was like, that's sick. And then like we look at it and it doesn't like the shot is all like it doesn't look like that happened at all. And I'm like, fuck that, I'm not doing that again. Because it's like, and I was thinking like I can only imagine like after Jackie like runs on coals or like gets like hit in the head with something. It's like, all right, we get it. It's like, actually no, we didn't get the shot. Do it again. Like how disheartening that actually is. Where it's like you actually do the shot right, and then like they didn't capture it right, or something happens, or somebody was in the way of the shot, or one of the millions of things that could have happened. Where it's just like, did we get it? And they're like, no, do it again. You mean run on hot coals again? Like, yeah. It's like, God damn it, that must suck.
Yeah, the action is shot so cleanly. Just like nice wides where you can clearly see everything. There's no shaky cam. The editing is very concise and flows perfectly with the flow of the battles. It just feels effortless when you're watching it, but it's so hard to actually choreograph fight scenes this well. And I was noting how like in the very beginning of Drunken Master 2, the first two fight scenes are like underneath a train and then like underneath a platform. So it's like not only are they fighting, but they're like fighting in a crouch style in like a very low hanging like space that is like hard to film, hard to fight. Like they're already going right off the jump with something that's like really difficult.
With weapons.
With that like
at an
flexible
insane
spear.
speed. Insane speed.
And you see in that blooper reel in the end that he catches that spear like right in the eye too. Like in that blooper reel, like when they're doing that like under the train scene when he's trying to fight it, like, yeah, that's why wouldn't that happen? Why didn't that happen more?
It makes me wonder how long they had to shoot this too, because I would also think with the budgets being lower that I'm pretty sure they were cranking out movies like in a couple of weeks, his early movies. And, I'd imagine this would be one of the first ones where it's like, okay, we can have a proper window, still probably a lot less than an average American movie, but it shows having that time to really polish things.
Just looking at his filmography, I mean, starting in the 70s, he was basically making at least 2 movies a year. In 73, he made over 10 films, just in 1973 alone. And then basically every single year, he made at least one, usually 2 or 3 movies every single year. But in '94, when he made Legend of the Drunken Master, that's the only film that he made. So this one took longer. I heard that final fight scene took nearly 4 months to shoot. And Jackie Chan said that one day filming usually only produces 3 seconds of usable film. So,
Wow.
so
it's like animation in a way. It's a testament to his, like, I appreciate more and more as time goes on. Jackie Chan, and the same thing you could say with Miyazaki or Pip. I mean, Michael Jordan is like the team they have around them is so key, because there's a great cast in this movie, all doing, especially the mom is like great comedic role. But like his stunt team sells everything that he's doing to the hilt. Like the amount of people doing 360 backflips off of like 2-story buildings into like the side of an upturned table right on the rib cage. Like it's just balls to the wall, jackass level, throwing themselves on grenades to make, like, he's kicking the guys. It looks sweet, but it looks really sweet because these guys are just eating these really hard falls. And he has a diehard crew around him that he really loves.
Yeah.
Shout out to the X Gang.
Yeah.
A lot of painful hits, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do want to ask Austin. I know me and Caleb love Jackie Chan, but I want to get a sense of Austin and Drew's history with Jackie Chan, more in a general sense, like what movies you remember seeing growing up, or do you like Jackie Chan, or what's your relationship with this guy?
Well, for me, it's pretty limited. I saw Rush Hour when that came out. I was like 11. I remember that being talked about a lot when I was like in middle school. I think we saw that, and it was mainly because everybody was like obsessed with Chris Tucker back then for some reason. And Jackie Chan was just like this guy that just kind of blew everybody's minds because he did all of his own stunts. That was the thing that I knew about him. But I wasn't really that into it. I wasn't really that into martial arts movies or kung fu movies. Drew actually showed me Rumble in the Bronx, I think like last year, and we really had a great time watching that. That's super fun. But I don't really have like much of a history with him. I feel like today was like the most I ever like absorbed of Jackie Chan like in my whole life. And it's awesome.
I have a greater appreciation for him now.
Oh, absolutely. It's not that it's not like I didn't appreciate him. It's like I've definitely gone down like YouTube K-holes of just like seeing all of his stunts and like things that he messed up, or like listening to interviews with him talk about like how he did XYZ stunts and just like the incredible nature of everything that he was doing, like basically single-handedly. It's incredible what he has accomplished in his life. But yeah, I haven't seen a ton of his work. I definitely want to see more of it now. And but I think Drew has a better history with him than I do.
Yeah, my buddies growing up across the street from me in Des Plaines, like we always would watch like a lot of his old movies, and just like there's one in particular that I can't remember the name of. Maybe Caleb or Zach.
Police Story?
Police Story for sure. But there's the he's on a yacht. He's not allowed to, he's trying to eat something the entire movie. You know which one I'm talking about? He's like starving the whole movie, and he can't every time he tries to get a bite of something while he's like beating ass, they like pull the sandwich away from him, and he's like, yeah, and just like literally the last line of him is telling him someone to make him a sandwich. And it's like great. I can't remember which one it was called. It's killing me. But we would watch that one all the time.
There's a movie called Dragon Forever that I'm looking at right now where he's definitely on a yacht.
Yeah, he's got a lot of movies. I think the one, Legend of Drunken Master is definitely a big one because we had it on VHS, but we also had Shanghai Noon on VHS, and I'd put on Shanghai Noon all the time. I love Shanghai Noon. Him and Owen Wilson, so fun.
Yeah, first real exposure to how great Jack was you guys, showing me Drunken Masters at some point when I came over to the house, and were like, you need to watch this, and I was blown away. It was incredible.
Yeah, I definitely have a vague memory of watching at least a few scenes at the house, Caleb and Zach's house. at the farm.
Yeah, we would have truncated viewings where we would just fast forward through the fight scenes themselves, which really showcases like the breadth of, a lot of kung fu movies. They're bringing the same style, or maybe they'll come up with like a little niche new aspect of a style to defeat a different style. But every fight scene in this movie has a completely different tone and a different setting and a different level of urgency. Some of them are more playful. Some of them are super dire. And it's like some of my favorite video games have that quality of they're not just giving you the same formula. Even though you got the same guy, he's always doing Drunken Master, but you're seeing it applied in all these different ways, and very easy to watch in that sense.
Yeah.
He's the most watchable person ever. Like, if you think of him just as an entertainer, you'd be hard pressed to find any action star, whether it's Tom Cruise, Schwarzenegger, Stallone. Like, none of them can do what Jackie can do. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Yen does some great stuff, but like, if you take pure Prime Chan, if you did a highlight reel, like you can't even come close. He even has a lot to do with the development of parkour and people that do free running. A lot of people cite Jackie Chan as like the reason where they even thought to like run up walls and do different like jumping around cityscapes.
Yeah, that's like real life stunt work. Yeah. I mean, and just going off what you were just saying, like just his acting ability, and I know I said this already, but I mean, just his comedic ability is so amazing, especially in the first Drunken Master, which is really known as like a comedy, like it's like a slapstick comedy film. I mean, I was watching him and just thinking about like Charlie Chaplin, people who like can use their face and their body to like really express, like comedic timing and like a comedic, ability. I think he's really unsung in that way.
Yeah.
It's like an action hero who does funny things. But yeah, I think that's what he was saying in that interview, is like, it's like the original Drunken Master was like one of the first like movies to blend action and comedy like pretty seamlessly and kind of make that like a genre. And the fact that it can breathe through to like Western culture is, because a lot of that stuff does not translate well at all. And
I would argue that comedy is a very central philosophical core thing to maybe not all of Chan's work, but I know me and Zach would recite this line that he had, I think, in just some random interview where he was like just talking about how he thinks about choreographing scenes. And I think a part of it is because he wanted to be known as a family action star. He didn't want to promote like sex or the violence of martial arts. It's like he wanted to appeal to kids, and he wanted to be like, he never really promoted being using your skill as an aggressor. It's always like he's outnumbered, there's no way to escape, and he's just trying to frantically protect himself. And the comedy keeps it light, and the fact that he analyzes everything. I saw a documentary about him way back in the day, so it's not fresh in my mind, but I believe his origins are kind of like Robin from Batman, where he was in like a sort of a theater troupe in his family from like a extremely young age. So his roots in performing have to do with, all the acrobatics and juggling and sort of clown type things that work in sort of stage or outside sort of street performance. But then like the way it marries into the whole kung fu scene and taking the stuff that Bruce Lee did and making it so much more cinematic. And I mean, I'll avoid going into a whole Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan super debate because I love both of them. But
why not? Get into it.
Well, I think the main thing that what sets Jackie apart, and it's kind of obvious, and let's just be honest, like Jackie Chan is like the Beatles. There's very few people that dislike Jackie, and the only way that you can really have a sort of a mixed opinion about him that I learned through the documentaries, in the same way as any figure that fully puts their life into their business, is that I believe like his family and his marriage, kind of was neglected because he's making 500 movies a year and like trying to be the best action star of all time, essentially, and succeeding requires a lot of sacrifice. But he pioneered, to me, the idea, he capitalizes on being a small dude, and the reality of that and application to if you're fighting a big person or if everyone's bigger than you and there's multiple opponents, you have to use anything at your disposal. And so, he's opening refrigerator doors and he's kicking chairs at people. He's throwing up like wads of paper up as a distraction. All these things that like read as kind of funny and I don't know, maybe not very practical, are actually you wouldn't be able to think that quickly, but it's almost this James Bond-esque, like it goes with his genius of like he finds a way to use a jungle gym in a way that you would never think to use, or would even be able to, even if you had the idea, to perfectly blend it into something beautiful.
In the first movie, he's got that fight scene where he's like literally fighting with like a carrot. Like he picks up like carrots and like, he's like defending a guy with like a knife or like a giant sword, and he's like fending him off with like 2 carrots. And then like, there's all the stools scenes, like where he's like whipping around those like wooden stools. And
the way he uses his environment is a hallmark of all of his movies. And I feel like most action choreography, they don't even think about the environment. And like that's kind of just like going into the location and like really figuring it out on the day and like figuring out what's available around you.
How's John Wick gonna reload the gun this time? It's a little more complicated when you're Jackie Chan.
And like going back to like the family friendly and like sort of like the passive tenets of martial arts, like where it's like mainly used as a defense, right? Like you don't just use it as an offensive. And he says it in like the very first scene of the movie, right? Is more important to forgive than to fight. And then like towards the end when everybody's got the guns and he's like, no guns. And so like everybody just uses them basically like as sticks. It's like a very like honorable way of fighting. And he seems always like a little reluctant when somebody like challenges him to a fight.
Yeah, and genuinely afraid. Like the desperation is a part of like it's that magician sleight of hand where like he's just barely by the skin of his teeth. Like everyone's using the most gruesome means to try to get this one guy, and you just can't get him. It's
all steeped in realism. I feel like I understand everything about the story and how he got to where he is throughout every point in the story. And it just makes sense. Like from when he gets ostracized by his dad, he's too drunk to actually fight. He gets like mollywopped by the gangsters and hung up from like the highest, pole in the village square to be made example of. And then he goes back to his dad, and his dad forgives him because he's like obviously humiliated. And I don't know. I just feel like every
dramatic acting on those parts too. That's some of the best Jackie like actual like. He talks about how he wanted to be known as like a real legitimate actor. He wanted to get like Oscars for it. Like he tries so hard, but people often dismiss him because it's tied into like as comedy often does.
It's disregarded.
And the Kung Fu genre. So go ahead. I hijacked you.
No. It's just like that scene especially. It goes from being also like so funny to super heartfelt to super sad, and I feel like it takes you in places a lot of movies really don't. Because in that scene you've got like the stepmom like faking a pregnancy and then like doing all that really funny vaudevillian like pratfalls and stuff, and her being caught back and forth all the way up to like, hey dad, you dropped your bonsai tree, and then he like beats the shit out of his son and force feeds him wine until he like explodes into rage and then disowns him and then like hits his father, and his father
Jackie punches him in the chest or the stomach.
with full drunken rage, and like we're all like the power, the style goes away and it's all power, and just like he just
And then it
screaming
creates
like
a vicious
wildebeest.
cycle of like, then he's encouraged to drink because he has it, like actually kind of delves into the whole darkness of alcohol and how it's just a coping mechanism for trauma.
Yeah, man.
Should we do
Yeah,
a
and it-
plot bop on this movie? Should we say what the premise here is?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I
boy.
guess we are kind of jumping around a lot. As our guests, I think it's up to the brothers to get us started, at least.
You want to do the first half? I'll do the back half, or vice versa.
Yeah, how's this movie start off, guys?
Plot bop.
Blah, blah. So we start off. We're at a train station, right? Which is really well shot. Shows
It's
off-
train day.
It's training day. Channing Day, a Channing Day, a training day with Channing Day. Yeah, we opened on a on a train station where it gives like a bit of exposition where it's like, hey, these English guys are coming. They don't have to pay taxes on their stuff. Isn't that nice? We have to pay taxes on our stuff. So Jackie Chan gets the bright idea to trip his brother or his cousin. I don't know who that character is, but the guy that he's with trips him into one of the dudes who drops their baggage, and he puts some ginseng that's wrapped up in a yellow bag into that guy's suitcase so they don't have to pay duties on it. He plans on stealing it later in the train. So they do some shenanigans to get the stuff back. He runs to the back of the train and steals it. But before he can get his stuff back, he realizes somebody else is stealing a yellow box that looks just like it. He attacks him, calls him a traitor, and runs away. He goes to pursue the man, who continues to call him a traitor because he thinks that he's stolen some ancient artifacts of China that he's trying to recover. We don't know that yet. He's just trying to get the ginseng back, and he's trying to fight this guy who had attacked him for he knows not why. They get back.
And we
Go
should
ahead.
say that this guy that is the thief that he comes upon is Master Fu Wenqi, played by Lau Kar-lung, who is the director of the film.
Oh,
And a badass.
He's the director and he can do all that? That's incredible.
Yeah, he directed this movie, and he also directed the famous film 36 Chamber of Shaolin, a famous kung fu movie, also Dirty Ho.
Oh yeah.
A lesser known film, Dirty Ho.
He's a very established kung fu film director, but yeah, Jackie kind of co-directed. He kind of admits that like we like directed this movie together, but Lau Kar-lung gets the actual credit. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing I just learned.
they clashed a lot during the filming of that final scene, and to the point where he quit. And so Jackie almost like fully took over as director for the final scene.
Wow.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like there was a lot of because like that behind the scenes that we saw of him playing the chess game or the Go game, whatever, when he ended up cheating, it seemed like he improvised that whole scene. He was like, "Oh, you know what we should do? He should hit him. I should tell him shush, and then he'll laugh and he'll see me messing." So that whole scene is like just improvised by Chan right on the fly. It feels very natural. It feels very good.
Yeah, it seemed like Jackie had a lot of free reign to do whatever he wanted, even though he wasn't the official director. But anyway, continuing with the plot, Bob. There's a swap, ginseng and the seal.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is this guy, this thief, would-be thief, is actually a member of like a Chinese counterintelligence who's trying to recover these stolen artifacts. Jackie doesn't know that. So he walks away with what he thinks is the ginseng. The other guy walks away with what he thinks is the seal, but they swapped boxes. So as they're leaving, they get like an emergency inspection. They're trying to the villains of the story are trying to recover their stolen artifact because it's gone missing. Jackie doesn't realize he has it, but they're stuck with it. They get off the train without realizing that they have the stolen goods, and Jackie still doesn't even know what he has. Nobody does. So they go back home where the guy who is expecting the ginseng is waiting for his ginseng, and they realize they don't have it. So they take a root from a bonsai tree, which is really poisonous, but they give it to the guy, and he walks away with the ginseng, or what he thinks is the ginseng, but is actually a poisonous root.
So Jackie's character, Wong Fei-hung, his father runs like an herbal like medicine store
Yeah.
or like what
I think
is
I think he's like a doctor, kind of, right?
He's
Medicine
like a
man.
respected medicine man who's like, well, yeah, he's a
Yeah.
respected, doctor of some kind who gives people pharmaceuticals.
But it seems like he also has some relationship to Kung Fu and teaching Jackie Kung Fu, but he also doesn't like drunken boxing, but also seems like he used to do drunken boxing. It's a little murky there.
Yeah. Like he does seem like he's more of a master than Jackie, right? Because like it's like he
Well, he owns the school he owns like the training grounds that are there. It's like that's what he sells back to him to get Jackie and him and the other guy out of prison.
so it's a family story. Film with
Yeah, so
family.
they own a family medicine business. It's also like has like some kind of training dojo within it, and the evil British guys want to get rid of that. They don't like all the noise it's making. And they're also the ones that are stealing the artifacts. Anyways, they are trying to recover the seal back. They realize that Jackie's probably the guy who has it because of all the commotion he made on the train. So they're looking for him, and they eventually find him with his stepmom. She is selling a necklace back to her mahjong players to pay off one of her like minute debts. She's gonna end up. It's an important family necklace. The criminals think that the necklace is the seal, so they go to try to steal the seal from Ally McBeal. What's her name? Anita.
Yeah, Anita. Yeah.
Anita Mew. She's hilarious.
Yes.
Mhm.
So she's the stepmother.
She's the stepmother,
Yeah.
and yeah,
She's got some kung fu moves as well.
She's got
no
some
slouch.
moves. Yeah, she's a singer. She's an actress. She's many talents, and again, very funny. But they end up trying to steal her purse, which has the necklace in it. Jackie recovers it, and the rest of the gangsters who are working for trying to get the super just like start, messing with him to try to get him to fight because they know that for one way or another he has the thing that they're looking for. So he fights them in like the town square, and his stepmother starts fueling his fight with booze. So she starts like throwing him bottles and like getting him super wasted. So he just becomes more and more unstoppable and unhinged and just beats these guys' asses up until the father comes by and sees the commotion because the whole like everybody's watching this fight and his son wasted. So he comes up and tries to stop the fight. Jackie continues to attack him. And this is what starts like his father basically like scolding both the mother and him back at home, being like, you guys are ruining my reputation. People think I'm in debt now. People think that. And then the wife of the man who had thought he got the ginseng ended up drinking this poisonous root and getting very sick. So she's like, we won't tell anybody, but it's not ginseng, whatever you got. And then he wants to find out what's happening. But basically all these things collide at the same point and make
Dad's pissed.
Dad's super pissed, blames it all on Jackie. And he gets beaten, scolded, and eventually disowned.
I think the real crux of the whole movie, though, if you distill it down, is that the drunken fist style is a very powerful but unwieldy weapon. It's difficult to use with discipline. The more you like, as you're drinking, you're able to withstand more pain and you become more loose in your technique. But you also, like, as with alcohol, your decision making and ability to assess the situation or when to stop or like, any kind of social conventions that would color the situation, you become a liability. You're basically not in control. And so his dad taught him this skill set at some point, maybe as like some kind of use of an emergencies, or maybe as like a cultural kind of valuable style to know for its maybe historical importance. But like to use it is dishonorable, particularly if you're getting to the point where you're actually drunk and not in control, because martial arts is all about discipline and focus. So he keeps getting sort of seduced into relying on this style to get him out of sticky situations. but then the repercussions of his actions come back to bite him.
Yeah,
I feel like that's really what the movie's about.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive because you see him doing drunken boxing when he's completely sober. He can get into the moves and the poses without being drunk. But then, yeah, his stepmom was literally like giving him alcohol and like kind of egging him on to like, hey, get
she's
drunk.
like,
You're
"It'll be
better when
fine,
you're
it'll be
drunk.
fine." Yeah, you'll
And
lose if you don't. So just go
and
on.
but yeah, it is a kind of impressive part of Jackie's performance to see the
His
subtle differences,
transformation.
subtle
Yeah.
differences in the fighting style of doing drunken boxing sober and doing drunken boxing when you're actually drunk. And you can really like just see like how fearless he is when he's actually drinking alcohol and just like has reckless abandon for his body. He's just like throwing himself, doing like corkscrew headbutts, like crazy ass moves you wouldn't even imagine a person doing. It's pretty incredible.
Superhuman strength.
Are we doing this?
I don't know.
plot
I feel
Bob?
like I feel like the plot Bob is just like it's taken away from time of like talking about.
Well,
I would
Drew's
rather
doing a
talk
great
about
job.
the fight scene. It was a great job, but it's like is what happens exactly what makes this movie great, or like what it's? I feel like
So it's like
I mean, it is a very convoluted kind of plot when you're kind of breaking
Yeah.
it down as Drew was, because it is
The
when me and
important
Caleb
part
would
is that
watch
he's
the movie,
feeding,
I like never understood what was actually happening in this movie as a kid. I was just like waiting for the next fight scene.
yeah.
Basically, I didn't really understand the specifics of what was going on, but I did appreciate more of the story on this most recent viewing, and like it is more engaging than your average kung fu movie. I think a lot of kung fu movies, I feel like the story is so boring, but I feel like I don't know. I think this is more of an engaging narrative than most kung fu
yeah.
movies.
There's a class warfare component with the British coming in and having these miners do these like crazy overtime, like dangerous working scenarios. So that there is like an oppression,
like
and they're
steel
like
mill
stealing their
workers, right?
artifacts. Yeah, and they're also stealing all these Chinese artifacts as well. So it's like it becomes the heroism is like we have to protect the poor from these British assholes, and we need to protect our history and reclaim our artifacts, but they don't have the resources that the British do.
And it's also like a family story because, as in the first movie, Jackie Chan's character gets disowned by his father. And so it's like also kind of like trying to redeem his place in a family.
Well, he doesn't get disowned in the first one, right? He gets like he
No, he
basically
does.
is like he's a crappy student, and then he's like, "I'm going to set you up with a better master," and so they punish him, and he like doesn't follow.
No,
through
in the
pun-
first
he doesn't-
one, no. In the first one, they find out that he was basically like hitting on his cousin. And so then he finds
yeah.
out that he's also being like insubordinate in school, and he's like, "You're a dishonor to our family," like, and he casts him out, and that's why he calls upon this, the drunken master to train him and like kind of discipline him.
Well, we're not talking about the first movie, so it doesn't matter.
Yes,
Let's talk
we
about
are.
Drunken Master 2, okay? We're not talking about
But
the
there's
70s one.
But there is a connection. There's a connection.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Well,
direct, but the fact that he already
there's
knows,
overlap.
yeah, the fact that he already knows the drunken boxing and yeah, I mean that he definitely learned it from the first movie and brought it to the second.
Well, while we're talking about him getting disowned by his daddy, I want to pull attention to the "I Hate Daddy" song. I just dropped a YouTube link. I think we should watch this.
Okay.
This version is the English dub that isn't Jackie singing, but I think it's a good representation of how bad this dub is and how funny this song is. This is right after he gets disowned by his dad and he's drunk and he's singing a song that he wrote called "I Hate Daddy." And I think we should play it.
Is this in the version you watched, Zach, or is it in both versions?
It is in
No,
the version I saw, but yeah, what I saw was in Cantonese, but it had these same lyrics.
You know, I hate you, Daddy.
Oh, yes.
I hate my daddy, I do. He treats me like a dirty dog, and I'm gonna get him back for it. I have no home. He threw me out because I punched him in the stomach, but I didn't really mean to. That's why I hate Daddy now. And he hates me as well now. Why is my life so sad now? Is it 'cause I'm Mr. Nice Guy now? Oh, hear me well, ginseng has broken up my happy home now. Dad threw me out of the house today.
He's the one, all right.
Jeez.
Is that version not in? Was that song not in the version you watched?
No, the version
He
we
does
watched.
sing. He sings a song,
Sings.
but it's not that song.
Daddy hates me too.
Every
As well.
version of it is good.
I punched him in the chest.
I didn't mean to though.
But you guys watched like the one with the Jackie Chan doing the dub, right? Like the
Yeah, no, he does like a good song. Like he does.
It's
good,
that scene, and
believable-
he sings something, but it's not that at all.
It's not that. It's
different
way
lyrics.
better. Different lyrics. It's not "I Hate Daddy."
Oh my god, that's
yeah,
so funny.
I thought I Hate Daddy is really funny, and yeah, it definitely felt like something I've never seen before. I was like, well, we gotta talk about this.
Wow, that's hilarious. I mean, it is interesting, all of the differences. But okay, so do we want to keep going with the beat by beat?
So the
Bob?
thing is, so what happens is,
If
Jackie
anything,
Chan-
we would go by fight scene, which we already talked about the square one.
I know it all, but it's not like you can't just.
It's not going to be pretty.
It's not great.
On the
Oh, that
Wikipedia,
he poisons
it
him with the
says he
ginseng
gets-
root. It's a
he gets
complicated
beat-
story.
He says he gets beaten up and publicly humiliated by the henchmen because he's too drunk to fight back.
That's right. He's strung up and like. Go ahead.
Yeah, they get captured. Like him and his fishmonger buddy, like they try to they sneak into some place, right? And they're dressed up in disguise. I forget what they're trying to do. Maybe like steal back the
He gets captured, and
artifact
the
or
dad
something.
has to break him out using his money.
Yeah, and there's a scene where they're like getting beat up with like boxing gloves and just getting the shit beat out of them while they're captured. But then being held hostage, and eventually
And then he swears he's never going to use Drunken Master or Drunken Fist again. He's never going to drink again.
He swore that after he got hung up by everybody and whatever.
Yeah.
Which is a lie.
But then the guy from the beginning of the
pissed off.
movie, Fu Wen Chi, who's played by the director Lau Kar-Long, he comes back into the fold. But this time, now he's a friend. And he talks about the British consul smuggling operation. And then they go to the restaurant together where you get one of the best fight scenes in the movie at the restaurant. Now, Caleb, can you talk about the restaurant fight scene?
Oh, yeah.
God's sake.
I mean, it's the Axe Gang. It's like, it's like seems like 50 to 100 dudes, all with hatchets, come storming in through the windows in an ambush. And so it's him and his tutor, so to speak. It's probably the most dangerous and kind of alarming, I think, of maybe any Jackie Chan scene that I'm aware of, because it's really, they're just coming in to try and basically butcher these guys, and he ends up they're both like doing all their the best moves they can do. The other master like ends up doing this cool like leaping staircase slam and busts down the staircase leading up to
yeah,
the
that was very
upper
reminiscent
level.
of The Boy and the Heron when the Parakeet King breaks the stairs by the stomp.
Yep.
It does the same exact move.
Yeah,
That's the Parakeet
great.
King.
It's a great technique. Very effective. Anyways, it gets to
and
the
Jackie's battling with the stools, the benches, like he's doing great swinging benches, like using his environment, like we were talking about.
Yeah, and then eventually his friend gets hit by an axe, and now it's just up to Jackie, and they're like, okay, we got to think of something, and he's using like a bamboo rod to keep them all at a distance, and the more he uses it, the axe guys keep like clipping away at the end of it, and it starts to fray into this like splayed straw bamboo thing where the end of it is like slicing everyone up, and it's starting to slice Jackie up, and so the guy like sort of greases him up and wraps a towel around it, and then he just is just wrecking dudes. It's really brutal and awesome.
Yeah, he's shirtless at this point, and he just looks awesome. And
spits grease all over Jackie.
But it is kind of shockingly violent because the bamboo is like literally like
just
like making them bleed. Like they're just like
shredding them.
It's just shredding these guys' chests, and it's like really, it's pretty visceral how he uses that weapon, but it's incredible.
And he has no choice. He just eventually they jump out of the windows. But again, that's probably one of the showcase moments of the stunt crew, just taking huge dives and just really painful collisions that up the intensity of the situation.
Yeah, they got like slow-mo
building.
shots, of them like falling out the window and crashing through awnings and stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's like a small building that was just made to be destroyed, and like having 50 plus people in that place where you're doing stunts on 2 different levels, stuff falling over, like people are definitely getting hurt like left and right.
Yeah, like there's the scene where like it looks like 15 people, including Jackie Chan, just like fall out a window into an awning and like onto a wooden awning. So it's like it looks like people are like really like falling on each other. It looks truly painful.
One bit I like from this fight scene where like he uses the bamboo and it like stretches outward and then like folds back in on like a guy's like arm or something. I don't know. It's like hard to explain, but like visually it looks so cool. It's like I don't know. He just thinks of every possible unique way to use any item, any weapon, and there's just like so many novel ideas in like every second of the fight scene. Like one part I liked is when like he has like a table on his back and he's just like spinning around in a circle and he almost looks like a turtle. The back, his back is just this table, and then at one point he like gets turned up, and he's like on his back like a turtle, like kind of helpless. He's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, they take those bamboo rods and then like 8 of them like stick it into like the table that he is rotating, so they can stop him in place. And then when they all have him like kind of like skewered in there, they pick him all up and turn him onto his back. I don't even remember how he got out of that. It was incredible though.
So before we go to the last part of this, I was just curious. So right before the Axe Gang breaks in, Fu Wanqi is basically explaining to Jackie that like the government is trying to strip us of our culture, and is talking about that. They're talking about the British government, right? Like they're talking about like Western governments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely just seemed like a lot of very like state approved messages that were in there. Like when Fu and Chi, right before the Axe Gang, they were like, the British have been trying to steal our culture for a long time, and it's up to all of us to, and it's, it actually is a good message. I'm not gonna, but like it definitely also seemed like, I mean, and that's definitely a trope in a lot of kung fu movies. Well, it should be, is that the British are usually the enemy. So I mean, that's a running thing, but it always feels like it's kind of like not state TV, but there's definitely like an edge of somebody from the government being like, hey, just throw this in there if you want this to pass the censor or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should fast forward to just the final chunk with the violent uprising at the steel mill, which Jackie's kind of leading. Yeah.
Yeah, they discover that, the British are like planning to smuggle these stolen artifacts through the steel mill using these boxes made for like steel rebar beams. Jackie's character and his friend Sang, they like join the workers in this protest, and then that's when this big fight ensues between like the main villains in this steel mill, which is just clearly like the biggest centerpiece of this film, like in terms of like the fight scenes.
The last like 20 minutes of the film is just fighting in the steel mill.
Definitely final level, final boss vibes for as soon as you walk in, just steel mill, fire. Looks like hell.
Coals. Yeah, it's like Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, it just totally has that vibe. I mean, here's the first mini boss that approaches, like dude with cut off sleeves and the Indiana Jones hat and the crazy flaming chain.
The chain.
The flaming
chain mini boss.
Yeah, dude.
Multi-boss
Definitely.
waves. Every guy, there's like 3 dudes. They all have some kind of, special thing. They're all playing dirty in some way. And he has to fight them back to back. So he's getting more tired. And he starts out trying to be very like, I don't know, almost civil disobedient in the way he's like, I need to remove you guys, but I'm not going to try and like hurt you. I feel like one of them's like on fire and he like dumps some sand on him to try and save him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackie's on fire a lot during this scene.
Yeah. Can we just talk about how much he gets the entire movie, how brutalized dude gets? Like the entire movie, he's getting mollywopped left and right.
Yeah, they really put that on full display in the credits blooper reel. It's mostly just Jackie getting injured and like things falling on him, and
especially the final scene. It seemed like that was especially brutal for him. Yeah, I mean, well, the characters alone, like from when they get imprisoned and they're just getting pulverized by boxers. Before that, him like getting force-fed wine beat. Like there's just so many scenes where he's like, there's 3, like one, we don't see it, but he gets strung up and like hung naked by the gangsters, right? Then he gets beaten as he gets captured inside the embassy, and then he gets really beaten up inside the steel mill.
I mean, he gets beat up, but he's holding his own very well. The pressure of trying to restrain himself from using drunken boxing to protect himself slowly gets whittled down, where it's like, if I don't do something, I'm going to die. And then these guys are just going to take over China, and our city is just going to be enslaved pretty much. So the stakes are high. And eventually he ends up like, there's some kind of like proverb that was on one of the scrolls about drinking, that's like, or like a boat can sail in water, but it can also sink in it. And or it's not necessarily about drinking, but it applies to his scenario. They're using it as an allegory. And then for some reason that makes him think, maybe because like these guys are using the fires of industry to kind of pillage all this wealth. And so it's like the water happens to be the fire. It's like, well, fight fire with fire. So he uses these little oil cans that are maybe for lanterns thing, and he uses it to try and do like a flamethrower technique. He accidentally drinks it, then it has an alcohol effect, but it's so like toxic and not meant for consumption that like he has a really violent reaction, but it's also giving him like super drunk powers, like it more so than we've ever seen up to this point, because it's like, pretty much poison.
Yeah, he turns into a demon. His skin's bright red. He's breathing smoke, and then he's like blowing bubbles and like spitting fire.
Yeah,
like,
injecting some comedy and the seriousness with him blowing bubbles.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I think people love this movie is they think about the ending, and it's like it's almost the, what would Jackie be like if he wasn't trying to be family friendly, if he was using his abilities for just pure domination. It's like anti-Jackie, evil, dark side Jackie. And he, like at one point, one of my favorite parts, and is really like what leads into the final combo, is he's so like in rage mode that he just stops fighting the guy. He's just moving into him, taking the hits straight without blocking them at all. He's like blocking the guy's foot with his own head, and then he just is just like, which is something that you see in certain street fight videos where there's guys were like, I'm so confident that I can beat you that I'll just let you have free shots, and all you're going to do is you're going to throw your best shot. It's not going to work, and I'm just going to be more pissed, and you're going to have to deal with the retribution. And so he like turns his back from him, which is like probably the number one kung fu thing. Never turn your back to the enemy. He's like, I don't even care about you. He leaves, and he just starts destroying this crate, this huge like wooden crate filled with like industrial supplies. He just destroys it and like looks at the other guy and he's like, holy shit, like what have I done? And just comes at him, and the exaggeration of not only does he unlock certain levels of moves that he doesn't normally do when he's at full drunk, but he gets the super strength that's outrageous to the point where some of the wire work that you almost like don't even I remember as a kid, like it didn't even occur to me, like I thought Jackie Chan was really punting this guy across the room into a wall, because you can just believe how amped up he is, but obviously they're doing some cool wire stuff. Yeah, it's just pure adrenaline pumping, and then Jackie in a way that we've never seen and probably will never see.
And the
again.
music's going full bore. Music's really great during this.
Yeah. Soundtrack is amazing.
The boss of this movie is played by this actor Ken Lo, and his whole deal is he's like a Taekwondo master. He's all about the kicks, and he's like and he's super tall, and he's doing these insane moves with his legs, and like kind of
lightning fast.
Yeah, at one point he's like kind of like hypnotizing Jackie with like just like how he's like moving his legs around. And there's that bit where like he like stretches his like legs like to like a 90-degree angle. He's like, drunken boxing, huh? How about it?
He puts his glasses away. Yeah.
He says a different line in the version I saw, which made me mad. He like doesn't say that iconic line. He says, 1 moment, please. Now we're even. And I'm like, that's not what he's supposed to say. He's supposed to say drunken boxing, huh? and there's like another line that they changed in this other version. Like after Jackie drinks the industrial grade alcohol, he goes, "That's perfect."
Yeah.
But in the original version, he says, "Are you ready to rumble?" And I was like, that's not as good.
Yeah. So we didn't realize it, but there is a very specific version. Did we ever pin down, is there a streaming platform? I don't care if you have to pay for it, because if people are going to see this movie, we want to make sure they see the best version, and there is a best version.
I got mine pirated from a friend of mine. My friend David, shout out. Thanks for getting this version for us.
I mean, the only versions I've ever found have been that are the proper dub are pirated, and I bought the DVD and hoping that it would be, but it was the wrong. So I have the DVD, but we didn't even use that to watch this, which is like a drag.
I bought an eBay DVD too, but it didn't come in the mail in time, so I ended up renting it off Apple TV, which was which was an English dub, but it was the wrong English dub, and then I rented it off YouTube, which was just the original Cantonese version. So
yeah, I think that's the one I saw
off YouTube.
Yeah, like because Alex hadn't seen it, and it's, you know, like those are interesting to watch as a hardcore fan, and someone like it's a very, the replay value on this movie is very high. We watched it so many times as kids.
So how does the final fight, how does it wrap up? Like officially,
he like uses him as like the wheelbarrow thing. He's just kind of making a mockery of all the ways that he was beating him, and then like reverses it, and he like has the guy upside down in a handstand and just punts him against the wall. And as he ricochets off the wall, he lifts him up over his head, and he does like he climbs up on a couple of buckets and then like spin heaves him behind him, and he lands on a bunch of like wooden crates, and then he just sort of like done.
He's
yeah,
done,
he just hard drops him. Mike drops him.
Yeah,
he's done.
Isn't that the waterfall move? He does it earlier in the square. He's like waterfall.
Wait, one thing I want to just like something I remembered from the final fight scene is the bit where Ken Lo, the final boss, like puts his chin into Jackie's eyeball.
Fighting real dirty, real low.
Yeah,
Drew was going chin to Chan.
No, I sang chin to Chan, chin to Chan.
And I feel like I remember in the Legend of Drunken Master, the version me and Caleb grew up on, like they actually have like popping sound effects, like you can really hear the Foley of like an eye getting like fucked up.
Ground down.
Yeah,
Could you hear that?
Yeah,
because that was
like,
not in the version I saw. I was like, what? There's no eye sound effect. That sounds like it's like
Yeah.
getting like gouged right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was disappointing, but yeah, that's an iconic moment. Then Jackie returns the favor later by like gouging his nose, kind of in
Yeah, he just like
kind of nose eye.
he's like, this pissed me off when you did that. It's kind of, but then he just does it wrong and doesn't really even hurt him. He's just kind of like grossed out and just like rubbing his nose really quickly into his eye socket.
It's a morale. It's a humiliation technique. It's
Yeah.
just to
He does that too with his
morally.
leg, where he does like the whipping the leg back and forth to kind of like
Mhm.
mimic his move, and then he just kicks him in the face like, with his other foot. Yeah.
And it's just a showcase of like, again, peak Chan. Just
Yeah.
Chan at the height of all of his prowess, and just no one could do, like, even if he choreographed your movie, if you can't do what he can do. He's Jackie
Yeah.
Chan.
Yeah. And yeah, just the ebb and flow of like this final battle. Like, yeah, like there's like slow moments, there's like intense, fast moments, but like, I don't know, just the pacing of the whole fight. Like, it's just, it feels like there's a lot of variety, like a lot of movement in the space. Like, you really can like get a sense of the whole environment.
Yeah. There's
It's
a
just- it's
great fight
incredible.
scene has a character arc to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a huge
Yeah.
character arc for Jackie in the whole fight scene, and yeah, all the different mini bosses. Yeah.
When I think about like current, like Tony Jaa, for example, and like The Protector is like you know, probably another one of the greatest kung fu movies. Like the big claim to fame in The Protector is the one shot, like going up the tower and stuff like that, where they're doing crazy stuff and he's kicking people through. But it's like, I don't think you'd ever see Tony Jaa like getting on hot coals on all fours backwards and stuff. I think there's an element of like 90s, maybe you could just get away with more, or like Jackie was just like, I don't give, like, I think this is going to look cool. I want to make it happen. Like some kind of like Tom Cruise mania where you're able to like I am the reason this movie exists. I want this crazy shit. And like, all right, we'll do it and see what happens. Hopefully he doesn't burn his hands off or whatever. Do you know anything about the hot coals scene? Like, was that actual, like,
I looked into it. He actually did crawl over the burning hot coals, and he did it twice.
yes.
And because he felt like the first time he did it, it didn't have the right rhythm. So he was like, no, let's do it again.
What a bad, that's amazing. Like,
I
God.
think that's just a personal thing it's like his calling card that every one of his big movies needs to have a stunt that is upping the ante,
Mhm.
which is just crazy because they're all like, you know, he's hanging from helicopters, he's sliding down like a metal pole with a bunch of like exploding electricity around.
Yeah.
He's almost died, broken everything a million times, but every movie he's got to have the thing that's like, oh no, Jackie, what are you doing? Like, it's really, you can see it's part of the shadow side of these geniuses of like almost this self abuse. Like when you watch like the Last Dance, Michael Jordan's amazing, but there's times when he says things where you're like, man, did you enjoy? Or I mean, like, you know, he like enjoyed when he won, but there's like almost malevolent, like you had to sign a deal with the devil to get as good as you are.
Mhm.
Where like, did you have to put yourself through so much pain? Did it have to be all about this grind?
Yeah, and I was reading this thing that it's like Jackie did this stunt where he jumped from a wall to a tree and like kind of made it the first time, but didn't like the way the shot looked. And he did it again and he fell like 12 feet and like cracked his skull, and a chunk of his skull like went into his brain and like would have died if it wasn't for the EMTs that were on site. But like, it's just like that willingness to like, because again, like just the idea of like being like, hey, did we get the shot? And they're like, no, do it again. It's like, God, that must be so harsh and like so disheartening. But it's Jackie who's like, no, that wasn't, I can do better. Let me try that again. And then like ends up killing himself and still finishes the movie. Like, that's incredible.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he didn't kill himself. He's still alive.
No.
Happy 70th birthday, Jackie Chan.
But let's talk about the ending of the movie, which
Yes.
the original ending of the film, he
So
basically becomes retarded.
Without putting too fine a
Can't say
point on
that.
it.
Poor
Believe
Things
that.
did it.
well,
Rami
so-
did it.
Yeah, they use the word retarded in Poor Things.
Yeah.
Bleep up.
What a pretty retard, Jackie Chan.
Well,
he He goes
Basically,
blind
I mean-
from drinking the industrial alcohol.
Yeah, and he blows bubbles just like Godwin does too.
That's another Poor Things connection.
So yeah, what I understand is that when they had that, because they didn't want the movie to, or at least I think the government was like, we don't want to promote this. Kind of glorifies alcohol. Like they obviously showed the downsides of it, but in the end, the feeling that a viewer gets is like, wow, I want to get drunk and learn how to beat the shit out of people because that was badass. Like, and so they're like, we need to have sort of an aftermath scene.
Basically, it's like after he throws the villain down, it's like he wins the day at the steel mill. It like cuts to this photo shoot with
award ceremony.
Yeah, an award ceremony with like the father and the stepmother and like some like government officials that are like, hey, thanks a lot for like saving all the artifacts. And they're like, by the way, like, where's your son who like saved the day? We have a job for him and we're like really looking forward to meeting him. And the dad's like, well, he is not feeling well because of all the gasoline that he drank. And in the movie,
drinking pure kerosene. He's not feeling great.
Yeah, and in the version that Drew and I watched, the movie just ends right there. It's like, well, he doesn't feel well. The end. And like it's a very abrupt ending because you want like some sort of like conclusion. Like
you want to see Jackie again.
You want to see Jackie again, saying like, "Hey, I'm doing all right." But the reason that it cuts so abruptly is because in the original version, they go to see Jackie again, and he is like severely mentally handicapped, and Jackie Chan is doing this like over the top like caricature of somebody who is mentally disabled and apparently blind as well, and like
very cringe.
His tongue.
Very,
he's sticking his tongue out.
He's got like a dunce hat on.
Yeah.
Which was
just like like he can't speak. He's like very
cross-eyed,
stumbling
trying to touch his wrist,
to be a cautionary tale.
And it even does a freeze frame on him like acting like this, and that's how the movie ends. Like a freeze frame.
I mean,
doing it.
It's funny because it's like for a movie that I thought was really well paced and like beat for beat, like you knew where everybody was in the story. I feel like that is the ending is so abrupt, and then like cuts to some weird.
Slice it.
Yeah, it's a weird 90s. But then when I bought, so like I think I was the one to break the ground on that one. And be like, do you guys remember this scene? Because I sure shit don't. Because I bought this copy off of Amazon, and it was the original Cantonese cut with the crappy English dub. And I was just like, all right, movie's over. And I was like, no, it's still going. And it's like, oh, we get to see and then he just does that. And I was like, oh my god,
yeah,
wow, that's crazy. It's shocking.
Yeah, for obvious reasons, when they re-released it, they were like, "We got to cut that scene because it's like in such poor taste."
It was a good cut, even though it is kind of confusing, like how abruptly it ends.
Yeah, I mean, in poor taste for America in 2000, like that's like, I mean, that's saying a lot.
Produced by Harvey Weinstein.
Right. Weinstein's like, look, guys, there's
this
good
is
taste,
too much.
time and a place for things. This is not that.
But then you get treated with all the bloopers during the credit roll, which those are always fun. Get to see and laughing.
Yeah, that really is the palate cleanser. It's like, okay, we know that was kind of bad, but here we go.
And it's funnier too because you see like Jackie like bowled over, just writhing in pain, and it's like this really like happy-go-lucky song. And even after he goes over like the coals for the first time, and is like, you can hear it, you can see Jackie very clearly mouthing the words, "I'm dying, I'm dying."
Yeah,
I'm dying, like just mouthing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so out of place for the music, and he just burns all over his hands, and he's getting like sprayed with fire extinguishers. It's just like,
Yeah, there's also the bit where like that big like steel drum just like falls on like half his
Falls
body.
right on it.
He's like trying to roll out of the way, but just like lands completely on him, and he's just
Yeah.
looks like he's in so
Yeah.
much pain.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looked
it
like
just
it
like
sucked.
slams onto his shoulder. It's like
Yeah,
looks
he's just
so
like-
bad.
Yeah.
That's where you can tell like they do have some like safety measures, but he improvs so much of the stunt work and the choreography that's like there's things they can't predict, and like he flies way too close to the sun on so many of these moves.
Well, we should give our final thoughts on Drunken Master 2.
To me, it's my favorite Jackie Chan film. I haven't seen all of them. There's some that have a good reputation that I still need to get to. Who Am I? I remember recently a Chan fan, one of my coworkers recommended that one. I haven't seen that yet.
That is a
But
good one.
It's very unique, and like not only is it peak Chan, but it's like the style of drunken boxing is one of the coolest kung fu styles ever put on film. And it's been put in video games, and it clearly has like a cult following of the people that know about it. And I think it appeals to me specifically because it overlaps quite a bit with the martial art that I practice in capoeira, where a large amount of the movements are kind of just distractive and trying to be unpredictable to the point and doing unorthodox things that your opponent is caught off guard. And to see it done at the highest level is just incredible. Acting's great. Everyone in the cast is great. The fishmonger's great. The stepmom's great. His mentor, the dad. It's unfortunately you got to find the precise version of it that we're talking about, where Jackie is doing his own voice. But all in all, it just ranks way up there on my top movies of all time, irrespective of action films or anything. I just love it. I love watching it. No one will ever be able to reproduce what he's done in his whole career and in this movie individually. So he's the GOAT. It's Jackie Chan. Fucking is the Chan man. I love Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Well said. Drew?
I like Jackie Chan.
Okay.
All right.
Austin?
Drew, like what are your thoughts on Drunken Master 2?
Oh, it's just a great movie. I think it's of all the kung fu movies I've seen, I think it's like has the most concise plot. I feel like I'm following along with it. I think it translates really well to Western, especially with the dub is essential, I think, for that. But I don't know. I think the fight scenes are incredible, and I think as far as how stylized it is, like you get a real feel for how drunken boxing works and why it's so fun and just a great thing to watch. Because yeah, a lot of times you're watching and it's just like, block attack. This one's just using the most unorthodox moves to kind of like, toss their enemies around. And I mean, that's really what we want to see in a fight, is like one dude going hog wild doing a bunch of stylized cool stuff. And yeah, not a whole lot of wire work that's being used in it. It's a lot of, just practical stunts and yeah, just
Tasteful.
Tasteful use of wire work. And the one when the wire work is used, it makes you just kind of like and just overemphasizes all the moves. And yeah, I mean the wheelbarrow to kick in the face to throwing somebody against the wall, that will live in my brain forever. Jackie getting hit with a hot steel rod against his legs, that will live in my brain forever. And so many of the lines that Anita has just like will kill me all the time. And I actually quote like a lot myself. I just like, stop him.
Drunken boxing.
And just her physicality. And she's like a Jim Carrey type. Like she's just like able to contort her face so well. And just like, I don't know. I think it's like a blending of styles too, that like you'll never see again, where it's like vaudevillian, like slapstick kind of humor that is just blended so well with like a modern day, like, comedy, or, it's a transition film that I think I haven't seen a whole lot of those styles mixed, since. And yeah, I think,
Jackie Chan Adventure is a cartoon.
Yeah, I was gonna say like most of my exposure is Jackie Chan Adventures, which is not even Jackie Chan, except for the 2 seconds of
He had the
live
Ask
action
Jackie
opening.
sections.
Yeah, yes, Jackie.
Hey, Jackie, do you like ice cream? I love ice cream.
I love ice cream.
Ice cream is my favorite.
My favorite food is ice
Vanilla,
cream.
chocolate. I love
all
ice
good.
cream.
But I would like to thank my cousins for my Jackie Chan introduction because I would not be a fan if it wasn't for you guys exposing me to Drunken Master, and that kind of led me into whatever kung fu that I did get into. So, thanks for that.
You would have gotten to it at some point. It's inevitable.
Yeah, but
Austin,
I was on the fast track to Chantown.
Austin, you got a final take on this movie?
I feel like my thoughts can be summarized best in this way.
I love the kicks, the karate moves you make so famous. And if I had another father, I would love to have you my father because I love the way you would make me grow up.
The late Richard Dunn talking about Jackie Chan on Tim and Eric Awesome Show. Great job.
Yeah,
the 100-year birthday of Jackie Chan.
In all seriousness, happy birthday, Jackie Chan. You got 70 years of being the GOAT, the greatest cinematic martial artist maybe we've ever had. I love this movie. I agree with everything that you guys already said. And one thing I'll say, and I know that we're talking about Drunken Master 2, but really love Drunken Master 1. I was really into that. You know, when I mentioned to Drew that we should watch both, at first we were kind of like, no, let's just watch Drunken Master 2. And I was like, no, I want to see where this all started and the whole lore and everything. And I'm really glad that I watched both because I feel like the first one really goes into more detail about the fighting style and how he learned how to do it. And so I would just encourage people to watch that one too.
I feel like I remember in the first one, his character is kind of more arrogant, kind of more of a jerk. Would you say that's accurate? Like he's just got a whole different personality.
Oh. Yeah. He's much more like a,
cocky young man.
And there's a scene in the beginning of the first one when he is like kind of like humiliating his teacher, where he like takes his hat. He takes his teacher's hat off his head, and the teacher's like trying to grab it from him, and like he's hitting him and making him dodge the hat and like putting it over his face, and like it's really funny choreography, and it's hard to explain, but just it's so fun. And like all the while in the background there's like this like Looney Tunes music going on in the background. Like it's very kind of like over the top cartoonish. But that's the first one. And in terms of the second one, I think it's like a lot more plot driven. It's got a really great story going through it. I like the kind of political aspect of it, like with the labor movement and, like kind of trying to save Chinese culture. Maybe there's like some sort of communist bent to it that maybe is a little nefarious from the Chinese government. But at the same time, like I think that in the end, it's like actually kind of a good message. There's like sort of like a socialist message behind it. I just think it's a great movie.
All right. Yeah, I'll say my final thoughts is it's just the best action scenes, best fight scenes you'll see in any movie. And we mentioned like the big set piece action scenes, but there's also a lot of like smaller little fights that happen like all throughout the movie that like just like pace out the movie. So you're always getting a little bit of action. You're never getting bored because yes, some kung fu movies will go like long droughts of like, all right, when's the next fight scene? You never really get that feeling in this movie. Like it's perfectly like they pace out the fight scenes really well, and like they'll throw in a quick action scene like in between a big set piece. That just keeps you hooked the whole run time, which I really enjoy. And yeah, the stepmom is great. She's a great physical comedian. Like when they first introduce her and she's playing mahjong, but she's like pretending not to be playing mahjong, and like they're like in that like tableau pose of like she's like with the patients and like pretending like that, like she's like checking like their heads and stuff. I don't know. She's doing all sorts of great physical comedy bits that are funny, and Yeah, it is kind of funny how like the dad and the stepmom are like the actors look like they're the same exact age as Jackie Chan, and so there's some kind of funny casting there. But I mean, I feel like you believe it. Jackie plays the immature innocence of his character pretty well, and yeah, I really like the father dynamic and the whole wanting to do drunken boxing, but it's also kind of it's a kind of there's a shame associated with it as well, and it really delves into that dynamic very well, and I think all that stuff's great. It rules. And by the way, Caleb, how's that baby Sailor doing? Any news with Sailor?
Yeah, what's up with Sailor?
He's walking down entire hallways unscathed. He's turning into a real Chanman.
Wow.
Whoa. He's
Doing his own
bipedal.
Yeah, and he threatens to, when Honore gets too in his business, he kind of like just threatens the open mouth bite. That's his technique of self-defense.
He's a biter.
It's really good. Yeah, just like his dad.
Does he jerk the head like that? Does he just kind of?
Yeah, it's like a heat-seeking kind of like eel coming out of a cave, just sort of.
Amazing.
And usually accompanied with like yelling while he's doing it.
All right. Well, we want to thank our listeners. Thanks for listening to this episode, and you can follow us at Film with Family on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Give us a follow and see what we're up to there.
And if you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at filmwithfamilypodcast@gmail.com and let us know what's the craziest stunt you've ever done. Do you do your own stunts like Jackie Chan?
You can also sign up for our Patreon, where you can get a bonus episode every month. It's only $1.99. We're currently talking about Oscar movies, Oscar family films. So you get up on there and see what we're talking about on Patreon.
And stay tuned for our next episode in 2 weeks, where we will be covering the Oscars, which are on March 10th. And we love the movies.
And we love our family.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Caleb, for coming on the pod.
The brothers have returned.
Back at it. Bye-bye.
Later.